Labour promised no tax hikes or benefit cuts before the election, but now millions are paying the price. SNP MP Seamus Logan isn't holding back, exposing Labour's broken promises and calling them a fake government in a heated Parliament showdown. Watch the explosive moment.
Indeed, it's the mark of a civilised society, the extent to which it looks after vulnerable people. And remember, many pensioners only have the state pension as their main source of income. The recent actions to cut support for pensioners by the UK government has rightfully been met with anger. Labour MPs, including all Scottish Labour MPs, voted to cut the winter fuel payment for 900,000 Scots. Weeks later, Scottish Labour MSPs voted against an SNP government motion demanding the UK government reverse the introduction of means testing of the winter fuel payment. Now, Anna Sauer claims they're going to deliver it if he's elected next year. Pensioners don't have time for this kind of Scottish Labour false promises while their benefits are being cut. Now, while government ministers point to the uptake in pension credit as some sort of mitigation for cutting the winter fuel payment, it seems ridiculous that this cut was not delayed to allow for a longer uptake campaign. And I do hope the Minister will tell us, because I don't understand yet what the trade-off is between the revenue that's been raised by the cut in the winter fuel payment and the uptake of pension credit. I'd like to hear if its uptake increases to, say, for example, 50 or 60%, what does that do to the money you're supposed to be raising as a result of this cut? If you had delayed it, it would have ensured that pensioners would not have missed out and reduced the number of pensioners going cold during this winter. And I come from one of the coldest parts of these islands. You probably have all heard of Braemar. It's often quoted as one of the coldest parts of the UK. It's in the northeast. It's close to Balmoral, the King's private estate. And I can tell you that many pensioners in the northeast are feeling the effects of this cold winter. And I totally endorse the comments that were made about the impact that this has on people's health, the increased admission rate to hospital, the increased number of delayed discharges as a result, and frankly, the increased number of avoidable deaths that are occurring as a result of these policies. In the general election campaign, Labour were elected on a platform of change, and I and many voters had no idea that this change was cutting the winter fuel payment for pensioners. See, I'm old enough to remember previous Labour governments, and I don't recognise this government as a real Labour government. It just doesn't seem like the kind of government that I was expecting. Earlier today, I see at least one colleague was with me in this chamber when we had a debate on fuel poverty in England. And we heard about all sorts of measures that the government could be taking. Social tariffs, for example. Social prescribing. Perhaps more importantly, some sort of windfall tax on the obscene profits that energy companies are making. Somewhere in the region of, I think the figure quoted was 423 billion or something of that order. A windfall tax on that, and that level of profit, would make any saving that you made as a result of the winter fuel payment absolutely dwarfed by comparison. And as already referred to, another failure of pensioner support from the UK government, both Labour and Conservative, I might add, was on WASPI compensation. I was shocked to see the Secretary of State for the Department for Work and Pensions happily pose for a photograph with WASPI women while in opposition, but ignore them and the Ombudsman report that demanded compensation as soon as he came to power. But it's not just that policy, it's other policy positions as well that are hurting pensioners. For example, the employer's national insurance contribution charges. That's leading to reduced third sector service provision. The farmer's family tax. That's leading to higher prices at the supermarket. And this is hitting the most vulnerable people in society, and those are those pensioners that I've referred to. I'll wind up now, Madam Chairman, just simply to say that, as I said earlier, to me, all of this shows that this government fundamentally does not understand the situation of so many pensioners across the UK.